Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today into Ryan Daniel Moran's 12 months to $1 million.
I feel like every time a book comes out about entrepreneurship, it's like another promise of overnight riches, you know?
I know what you mean, but this one actually has some pretty big names singing its praises.
Like Gary Vee.
Yeah, even he's intrigued, calls the title douchey.
Oh, it sounds about right for Gary Vee.
But he goes on to say it's inspiring.
Okay, so maybe there's something to it then.
And it's not just him. Josh Pizzoni, who made like $100 million in his first year of business, said he wishes this book existed when he was starting out.
Okay, that's a pretty strong endorsement coming from him.
And there's this other story that really caught my eye. It's about this Ukrainian immigrant who actually credits Moran's work with helping him build a seven-figure business.
Wow, 7 figures.
Yeah. And not just that, he built a whole community around his travel brand. So I'm really curious to see what Moran's secret sauce is. What do you think? Ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it. Where do we start?
Well, Moran kicks things off with this really interesting example, the story of RXBAR.
Oh, yeah, the protein bars.
Exactly. Those are the
Okay,
ones.
so they're pretty good.
Yeah, I like those too.
Simple ingredients right on the front.
Yep.
So what's the story?
Well, the founders were these CrossFit enthusiasts, and they were just totally frustrated with all the protein bar options out there.
Makes sense.
So they decided to create their own.
Seems pretty straightforward so far.
Right. But the key here is they knew their ideal customer inside and out, like they were part of the CrossFit community. They lived and breathed that lifestyle.
So they weren't just guessing about what people wanted.
Exactly. They knew their audience, and they knew what kind of protein bar those CrossFit folks were craving.
And that's what led to them getting acquired by Kellogg's for how much of it?
A cool $600 million.
Just for a protein bar?
Well, for a whole brand, really.
That's wild. It just goes to show the power of really understanding your target audience, huh?
Exactly. Moran actually calls this the gateway product strategy.
Gateway product strategy. What's that all about?
So your first product, it shouldn't be about world domination, right?
Okay, keep going.
It should be something super specific, something that solves a really obvious problem for your ideal customer.
So it's like that first taste that gets them hooked on your brand.
Exactly. It's the key that unlocks the door to everything else you offer.
That makes a lot of sense. You got to get that initial win to build trust and momentum.
Right. But it's not just about the product itself. Moran stresses the importance of crafting a brand, a whole experience that resonates with your target market.
So, like, think about Dollar Shave Club, right?
Good example.
Their razors weren't doing anything radically different from Gillette. Right.
Right. But their marketing was brilliant. They totally nailed their target audience.
Exactly. They built this strong brand image that really resonated with their customers, and that's what caught Unilever's eye. Led to a $1 billion acquisition.
$1 billion. It's
Yeah.
crazy what a strong brand can do.
No kidding. Okay, so building a brand is key, but what about the practicalities? Let's say I have this amazing product idea,
Yeah.
but I'm not exactly rolling in dough. Can I really launch a successful business on a tight budget?
That's a great question, and Moran actually tackles this head on.
Yeah.
He tells the story of Moiselli, the founder of Native Deodorant.
Okay, I know Native Deodorant. What's so special about him?
He started with just $500.
Seriously. $500?
Yeah, that's it.
That's like my monthly coffee budget.
Right. But what Moise lacked in capital, he made up for in hustle and that laser focus on his customer. He was always tweaking his product based on feedback, constantly looking for ways to improve.
So it's about being resourceful and scrappy in those early stages.
Totally. It's about that willingness to iterate, to get your hands dirty and figure things out as you go.
Yeah.
And for Moise, it paid off big time. He ended up selling Native Deodorant to P&G for, wait for it, $100 million.
No way. From $500 to $100 million. That's insane.
It's encouraging, right? You don't need a ton of money to get started, but you do need that drive, that grit, and that obsession with your customer.
Okay, so we've got the product, we've got the drive, but what about the actual launch? How do we get people excited about our amazing new thing?
Moran has some really interesting insights about that. He calls it stacking the deck.
Stacking the deck. That sounds a little shady.
No, it's not about cheating. It's about setting yourself up for success before you even go live.
Okay, give me an example.
Imagine throwing a party. You don't just open doors and hope people show up, right?
Well, no, I guess not.
You send out invitations, you get the word out, you create some buzz and excitement beforehand so that when you do open those doors, there's already a line of people waiting to get in.
Okay, I get it. So how do you stack the deck when it comes to launching a product?
One of the key strategies Moran highlights is building an email list well in advance of your launch.
So you're not just throwing it out there into the void and hoping for the best.
Right? You're cultivating a captive audience that's already interested in what you have to offer.
Smart.
And he talks about engaging with relevant Facebook groups, collaborating with influencers, even using Kickstarter, not just for funding, but as a marketing tool to
Yep.
tap into that community of early adopters.
It's about creating multiple pathways to your product, building that momentum before you even officially launch.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we've stacked the deck, we've launched our product. What's next? What does Moran say about those crucial first few sales?
Well, he stresses the importance of consistent customer engagement right from the start. It's not just about making that initial sale, it's about building lasting relationships.
So going beyond just providing good customer service.
Right. It's about creating those raving fans who will tell their friends about your brand because they genuinely love what you're doing.
I like that.
And Moran actually shares this story about how he once called a repeat customer just to thank them and get their feedback.
That's a really personal touch.
Right. It's something you just don't see from those big faceless corporations.
Totally. Okay, so we've got our product launched, we're engaging with our customers, those initial sales are coming in. What's next? When do we introduce product number 2?
Moran says once you hit a consistent 25 sales per day with your first product, that's the signal to start thinking about expanding your offerings.
So you've proven the concept, you've got some momentum, and now it's time to build on that success.
Exactly. But he cautions against just throwing any random product out there.
Right, it has to be strategic.
It has to be strategically aligned with your existing customer base.
So no venturing off into a completely different market.
Not according to Moran. He says your second product should answer the question, what's the next logical purchase for my current customer?
Oh, that's a good question. So you're really tapping into those detailed customer avatars we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. You go back to those profiles and you think about their needs, their habits, their pain points. What else are they buying? Where else can you provide value? That's where your next big idea should come from.
So it's not about chasing trends or trying to be everything to everyone. It's about strategically expanding your offerings based on what your existing customers are already telling you they want.
That's a great way to put it. And this is where what Moran calls the snowball effect comes into play.
Snowball effect.
Yeah, your second product launches with the built-in support of your existing customer base.
I like that.
Right. So the success of each product launch actually feeds back into your previous products, creating this cycle of growth. But as you're launching new products and scaling your business, how do you avoid losing sight of those customer relationships that are so crucial in the early stages?
That's such a good point, and it's one that Moran addresses directly. He uses the example of his friends, Catherine and Alan, who created the Best Self Journal. Their first product was a massive success, but when it came time for product number 2, they struggled. They were having trouble finding something that aligned with their core values and authentically served their customer base.
It's like they got caught up in chasing the next big thing instead of staying true to their brand and their customers.
Exactly, and Moran warns against that. He believes that chasing trends for short-term gains can ultimately erode the trust you've built with your audience.
So it's about having that long-term vision, not just chasing quick wins.
Precisely.
But even with a long-term vision, there might come a time when selling your company makes sense.
Of course.
And I imagine that can be a really tough decision, almost like sending your child off to college.
It is a big decision. And Moran talks about his own experiences selling companies, and he doesn't sugarcoat it. It can be emotional, complex, and even a bit messy.
So it's not just about finding the highest bidder. It's about finding the right buyer, someone who shares your vision and will treat your brand and your customers with respect.
Precisely. It's about finding the right steward to carry the torch forward.
This is all making me think about the bigger picture of entrepreneurship.
The emotional side of it.
You know, not just the tactical side of building a business, but the internal transformation that often comes with it.
Absolutely.
And Moran actually shares a story about his own experience meeting a successful entrepreneur named Travis. So this Travis guy, what was his deal?
Well, picture this. Moran's in his early 20s feeling kind of lost and totally unsure about his future.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to that feeling. Especially when you're first starting out, you're full of passion and ideas, but you don't always know where to direct that energy.
Totally, and that's where Travis comes in.
So how'd they meet?
At some industry event, Moran spots Travis knows this is his chance to pick the brain of someone who's already done what he wants to do.
So he basically went full-on fanboy mode.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Spent the whole night talking to Travis, soaking up every bit of wisdom he could.
But come on, we can't all just bump into our entrepreneurial idols at a networking event and have them magically solve all our problems.
True. But the takeaway here is about the power of mentorship, you know? Travis wasn't obligated to give Moran his time or attention, but he saw something in him, a spark of potential.
So he decided to invest in his growth, basically.
Exactly. And Moran emphasizes how important mentorship can be for entrepreneurs. It can be a total game changer.
Because it's not just about having someone to cheer you on. It's about having someone who can offer real, actionable advice.
Right. Someone who's been there, done that, seen it all. They can help you avoid those common pitfalls, share valuable insights, connect you with the right people.
It's like having a shortcut to success.
In a way, Moran actually encourages entrepreneurs to actively seek out mentors who can provide that specific expertise they need.
So don't just wait for a chance encounter to go out there and make those connections happen.
Exactly. And that leads us to another crucial element of Moran's approach, building a strong community. He really emphasizes the importance of that.
We've touched on this idea of creating those raving fans, right?
Mhm.
The customers who become your biggest advocates.
Right. But Moran takes it a step further. He's not just talking about good customer service. He's talking about creating a sense of belonging, a tribe of like-minded individuals who believe in your mission.
So it's like those brands that have such a cult following that their customers almost become evangelists spreading the word.
Exactly. Think about brands like Apple or Tesla. Their customers aren't just buying products, they're buying into a lifestyle.
It's like joining a club, a movement.
Right. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier, knowing your ideal customer inside and out. If you understand their values, their aspirations, you can create a brand that really resonates with them on a deep emotional level.
It's not just about transactions. It's about connections.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get a bit more practical
Oh,
now.
sure thing.
Moran talks a lot about using platforms like Kickstarter and Amazon to your advantage.
Those are big ones for sure. Let's start with Kickstarter. Everyone knows it's for crowdfunding. But how does Moran suggest using it strategically?
Well, he sees Kickstarter as much more than just a way to raise money. He views it as a powerful marketing tool. Remember, stacking the deck.
Yeah, that pre-launch momentum we were talking about.
Right. Well, Kickstarter can be a key part of that. Moran points out that the platform has millions of active backers who are ready and willing to support new products.
It's like having a built-in audience of early adopters who are actively looking for cool new things to invest in.
Exactly. And Kickstarter has that built-in urgency with those funding deadlines. That ticking clock creates FOMO, fear of missing out, and that can really drive sales.
Plus, there's the social proof element. When you see a project with tons of backers, it makes you more likely to jump on board yourself. And it's like, well, if all these other people think it's awesome, it must be worth checking out.
Right. Moran also highlights how the Kickstarter algorithm actually favors projects with a lot of backers.
Oh, really? Even if the pledge amounts are smaller.
Yep. That's a key insight. And that's why he encourages creators to offer lower-priced reward tiers to make it easier for people to support their projects.
So it's about getting as many people as possible on board, not necessarily about hitting some massive fundraising goal.
Exactly.
Okay, so Kickstarter can be a great launch pad, but what about Amazon?
Ah, the behemoth.
Right? It's such a massive marketplace. Can a small brand even hope to compete there?
Moran thinks so. He argues that the key to succeeding on Amazon is understanding their algorithm. It's not just about having an awesome product. You have to play the Amazon game.
So it's like learning the rules of the road before you start driving.
Exactly. And Moran emphasizes how Amazon rewards momentum. The more sales you have, the more reviews you get, the more visible your product becomes in those all-important search results.
It's that snowball effect we were talking about earlier. Success breeds success.
Yeah.
But how do you kickstart that momentum, especially if you're a brand new seller?
Moran recommends driving external traffic to your Amazon listing.
So you're not just relying on people stumbling across your product while browsing on Amazon.
Right. He suggests using social media, email, marketing, influencer collaborations, even your own website, to funnel potential customers directly to your product page on Amazon.
So it's about creating those multiple entry points, casting a wider net, so to speak.
Exactly. And every sale you generate through those external channels tells Amazon that your product is in demand, which boosts your ranking and makes you more visible to other shoppers.
So you're giving your product that extra push to help it climb the Amazon ladder.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so we've tackled Kickstarter and Amazon, but let's talk about the human side of entrepreneurship for a moment.
Sure.
It's not all sunshine and roses, right? There have to be moments of doubt, Fear, frustration, even wanting to chuck the whole thing and go back to a 9 to 5.
Oh, absolutely. And Moran doesn't shy away from that reality at all. He's really open about the self-doubt, the setbacks, those dark moments when you just feel like giving up.
It's like that entrepreneurial crucible, right?
Yeah.
It can forge you into a stronger, more resilient person, but it's not always a fun process.
Totally. And Moran stresses how important resilience is for building a successful business, maybe even more important than having a perfect strategy. It's about having the grit to keep going when things get tough, to learn from those inevitable failures and come back even stronger.
So it's not just about having a brilliant idea or a flawless plan. It's about having that inner strength to weather the storms and keep moving forward.
Exactly. And you know what? Moran believes entrepreneurship is actually a journey of self-discovery. It pushes you to grow, to learn to become a better version of yourself.
It's like personal development with a side of business growth.
I like that. And Moran emphasizes how the lessons you learn along the way are just as valuable as the financial rewards, maybe even more so.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Building a brand, launching products, navigating the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship.
Mm.
What are some of the biggest takeaways you've gleaned from Moran's book?
Well, I think one of the most important takeaways is that entrepreneurship is about way more than just making money. It's about creating value for others, building something meaningful, something that leaves a lasting impact.
Oh, like that.
And it brings us back to that big question we started with. Can you really build $1 million business in just 12 months?
Right. Is it really possible?
Moran believes it is, but he's very clear that it's not some get-rich-quick scheme. It takes serious effort and dedication, a willingness to embrace the inevitable challenges.
It's about having that fire in your belly, that unwavering belief in your vision.
Exactly. And even if you don't hit that $1 million mark in the first year, the journey itself can be incredibly rewarding.
It's about the personal growth, the lessons you learn along the way.
Absolutely. And you know what? You might even hit that $1 million milestone a little further down the road.
There you go. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right. So should we take a break and then come back to wrap things up?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll be back in a few to explore some of the deeper themes in Moran's book. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. We've been digging into 12 months to $1 million, and it's really got me thinking about the whole entrepreneurial game in a new light.
Yeah, it's not just about the nuts and bolts of building a business. There's this whole mindset piece that Moran really emphasizes.
Yeah, like defining success on your own terms. It's not just about hitting some arbitrary revenue target.
Right. It's about creating a life that actually feels good, aligning your business with your values.
I think so many of us get caught up in that hustle culture, that constant grind, and we lose sight of why we even started in the first place.
Yeah, what's the point of financial success if you're totally burnt out and miserable?
Exactly. And Moran talks about this idea of finding your why.
Oh, that's so important.
Like, what's the real driving force behind your business?
Yeah, what impact do you want to make on the world?
It's a question every entrepreneur needs to ask themselves. Because honestly, when you have a strong sense of purpose, those long days and those setbacks, they don't feel so daunting anymore.
You're working towards something bigger than yourself.
Right. It's not just about you and your bank account.
And Moran shares some amazing stories about entrepreneurs who've really tapped into their why and used it to fuel their success.
Like who?
Well, one that really stood out to me was about Jasmine Star.
Oh, yeah, I know her. The photographer, right?
Yeah, she's amazing. She built a multi-million-dollar business by focusing on helping women entrepreneurs feel more confident in front of the camera.
I love that. So it's more than just taking pretty pictures.
Right. It's about empowering her clients. And that purpose, it shines through in every aspect of her business. It's in her photography, her branding, her marketing, you name it.
That's so cool. It's a reminder that entrepreneurship can be a real force for good in the world.
Totally. It's not just about making money. It's about using your skills to make a difference.
All right, so what other nuggets of wisdom did you pull from Moran's book?
Well, his advice on building a strong team really hit home for me. He stresses the importance of surrounding yourself with people who are way smarter than you, people who bring different skills to the table and can really challenge you to up your game.
That's so key because as much as we want to believe we can do it all ourselves, the truth is you need a solid team to help you bring that vision to life.
Exactly. And Moran talks about the importance of delegating.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is, especially for us entrepreneurs who are used to being in control of everything. But letting go of some of that control, trusting your team to do their thing, is essential if you want to scale your business.
So it's about playing to your strengths and finding people who can fill in those gaps where you're not as strong.
Right. And Moran gives some really practical tips on how to build a high-performing team, from finding the right people to creating a culture of trust and collaboration.
I'm already taking notes for my own team. All right, so we're wrapping up our deep dive into 12 months to $1 million.
Mhm.
And honestly, I'm feeling super inspired. It's challenged my thinking, broadened my perspective, and gotten me excited about all the possibilities out there.
Me too. It's more than just a business book. It's a roadmap for creating a more intentional and fulfilling life.
So as we close things out, what's the one big takeaway you'd leave our listeners with?
I'd say the most important thing to remember is that entrepreneurship is a journey. It's not about reaching some finish line.
Right, it's an ongoing process.
Exactly. It's about continuous learning, evolving, embracing those challenges that inevitably come up, and celebrating those wins along the way.
And it's about using your talents to make a real difference in the world.
That's it.
Well said. And remember, even if you don't hit that $1 million mark in the first 12 months, the lessons you learn and the experiences you gain along the way are priceless.
So true.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Ryan Daniel Moran's 12 months to $1 million. We hope you found it valuable and inspiring.
And remember, the journey begins with that first step. So what are you waiting for? Go out there and make it happen.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.